So, I was browsing Twitter the other day when I stumbled upon some mutuals talking about some tweets from a guy who goes by MBG. Little backstory on him, he's a PlayStation-centric channel. I might have responded to him once before, I honestly don't remember. But taking him at face value, I honestly don't have a problem with his stuff, which might be surprising given my hatred of fanboys, but I really don't have an issue with MBG because he's a lot more reserved than most. He talks about Sony and he hypes up Sony, but he also doesn't lie about them or try to start shit with fans of other platforms. He's a perfectly inoffensive channel, but the tweets he made about Sony's new demo strategy really irked me, and I couldn't help but dust off the old screenshot button. Before we get into the tweets, let's set the stage here. Yesterday, it was reported that Sony is likely going to start offering demos for games priced at $34 or higher, but these demos will only be available to PS Plus Premium subscribers. And side note, that is the worst service name ever. PS Plus Premium. It's like you're just asking people to spit on each other with this. The reason this news is stupid is because Sony hasn't bothered to offer demos or trials for most of their games for the longest time now, but now that they're bringing demos and trials back, they're locking it behind a paywall. So if you want to make informed game purchases now, you have to pay extra money for Sony to basically be your referee. This is like if you went to the grocery store to buy some food, but the expiration dates on every product were scratched out so you couldn't tell if you were about to buy a piece of shit or not. But then the manager comes out and is like, hey, I actually know all the expiration dates and I'll tell you if you fork over $10. Too long didn't read, demos used to be commonplace and free in the gaming world, and now Sony is locking them behind a paywall, and certain characters on the internet are defending this. The original tweet, which is now deleted, thank you MJ Hernandez for the screenshot, reads, if this new report about Sony offering 2-hour trials on every game priced at $34 or higher on the PS Store for PS Premium is true, that is ridiculously pro-consumer and truly an insane value. Now let me explain something here, because a lot of people don't really seem to see the bigger problem. Sony has been super anti-consumer for a super long time, to the point that most people are just used to it. And now, Sony is making the decision to be a different kind of anti-consumer. They're not being pro-consumer, they're being a different kind of anti-consumer. Before, there were hardly any free demos or free trials, but now you have to pay for them. And I know that game trials and demos aren't the same thing, but my point should be pretty clear, even though I'm using the terms interchangeably. I'll talk more about that in a second, I promise. But my point is, because Sony has been anti-consumer for so long, now a change of pace is being interpreted as pro-consumer, simply because it's different and it allows you access to a thing you didn't have before, all the while ignoring the reasons why you didn't have access to that thing before, and ignoring the fact that you are now paying for something you didn't used to pay for. No matter how you slice this one, it's anti-consumer. It's just wrapped up in a new package to distract you. Not to shit all over your dreams, MBG, but this does highlight a really concerning trend in the industry. You remove a feature that people like, you let the desire for that feature grow to a maximum, and then you bring the feature back with additional monetization. I mean, it's the same reason people bitch about paying to play console games online. It's a feature that you literally didn't have to pay for a while ago, and it's one that you still don't have to pay for on other platforms, PC and mobile. The fact that Sony is going to charge a fee for users to play demos or trials of games that Sony didn't even make has the exact same energy as Sony charging you to play your games online after you already bought them. And Sony didn't make those games either. Interestingly, MBG actually deleted that tweet, hence it being a screenshot of a screenshot, but then he followed it up with this. Okay, well apparently my take is bad and off the mark. I really do see value and find it pro-consumer to have the ability to play literally every game on the PS Store that is $34 or higher for 2 hours for $120 a year. I wouldn't have ever expected to be able to do that for free. And that right there is the problem. You wouldn't have expected to be able to do that for free, but you literally used to be able to do that. Does nobody remember how easy it was to download demos on the 360? Does nobody remember how great shareware demos were? Also, notice how they're offering 2-hour trials, not 2-hour demos. Demos are specifically crafted vertical slices of a game, basically a playable advertisement to make you interested in the whole thing. Trials, on the other hand, are just letting you play the game from square one until a timer runs out. And I think most people will agree with me when I say that is not even close to being as effective as a demo. So many games are front-loaded with tutorials and exposition and, story context that a 2-hour trial likely won't even let you experience the game's core loop at its best. Meanwhile, a demo can be like, hey, if you buy the game and put some time into it, this is the kind of fun you will eventually have and continue to have and escalate from this experience. Remember the demo for Batman Arkham Asylum that was basically just a bunch of Riddler challenges stitched together so you could feel how fun the combat was? A 2-hour trial of Arkham Asylum would not have convinced me nearly as much to drop the money on the full game as the demo did, because the demo let me experience the core gameplay loop in a more complete form. Or how about those demos that were basically just like the first or second level of the game and you could play through it as many times as you wanted? I remember the Lego Star Wars 1 demo that I played a million times. But now I want you to think about how many games have come out recently that you can honestly say grabbed your full attention within the first 2 hours. And that's the other thing. Demos you could play as many times as you wanted, but trials you get a time limit and then that's it. So not only did Sony choose the worst option of the two, but they're fucking charging you for it. That is why people are annoyed by this. You then tweeted out, PlayStation has a free demos section on the PS Store. There are very few demos though. I wonder why. Yes. Exactly. Big publishers stopped requiring devs to make demos of their games, so that way people would just be more likely to fork over the money for it. In case you haven't been paying attention, the last decade of the gaming industry has basically been one giant think tank for publishers to find the most optimal way to trick you into paying for things. They got rid of demos so you couldn't make more informed decisions on their garbage games, and now that subscription services are all the rage, they're now monetizing the ability to make informed decisions again. I also love the response on this. People will data mine the demos. Do you not know what a demo is? Again, a demo is a specifically crafted, smaller version of the game. It only has what the developers want it to have. It's not just the full game with a bunch of red tape. But demos have been such an afterthought for so long that nobody even thinks about this stuff anymore. The last thing MBG said about this at the time that I'm recording the video was, well, screw it, I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't, laughing face, I'm going to subscribe to PS Plus Premium. I like what Sony is doing with game trials. And now I have all-time low stuck in my head, thanks for that. I don't mean to come down on MBG super hard or anything like that. I've tried my best to make clear that there's no beef here, but the dude didn't seem to understand why people were annoyed with him, and I figured I'd clear the air a bit, because it says a lot about the bigger problem with the industry. At the end of the day, Sony is making you pay for an inferior version of a thing that used to be a free expectation of the industry. And it's just the latest in a string of Sony decisions that seem to be entirely focused on milking the player base as much as possible. They make you pay to play online. They buy exclusive content in multi-platform games. They buy the game rights to characters they didn't make. They did their best to resist cross-play and cross-progression, which is something people like to conveniently forget about nowadays. And now they're locking game trials behind a paywall. It's your money, you can do what you want with it, but I highly advise against praising Sony for this or acting like they're some great pro-consumer company. If they were truly pro-consumer, they wouldn't charge you extra for wanting to make informed buying decisions. Toodles.